here is a good one to listen in on concerning then praying and what God does. Skip?
As most of you know, we've got a farm, and that's our full-time occupation. And a couple of years ago, it became clear we needed to fill in some low spots in our pastures, one of which we went in the wintertime, we'd get the tractor stuck in the mud. It was that bad. And I was looking at what can we fill this in with? And we drive in on towards town, and I'd see these orange trucks over by Richard's with all the wood chips in the back of them. I thought, you know what, that's really what I need. And I prayed, Lord, I need some wood chips, and wood chips didn't show up. And I thought of all these schemes. So I got to go talk to this guy, talk to that guy. And eventually I called up Richard's, and I said, what time do those guys show up to work in the morning, those Asplund trucks? And they said, well, they're here at 6. So I got up, and I went there at 5:30 in the morning, and a guy drove in. I said, who's the foreman here? He told me who the foreman is. I waited till Joe shows up, got his card, and he says, how many chips do you want? I said, as much as you can give me. And it was about this time of year. I thought, this is great. I really got this brokered, this deal now. And they showed up with 1 truckload of chips. I'm going, yes, this is great. They put it right where I wanted, and sitting there waiting for chips. And I go, thanks, Lord, for the chips. This is really nice. This is an answer to prayer. And I'm thinking, I'm having a hard time being content with 1 truckload of chips, because I really wanted multiple truckloads of chips. And well, Lord, thank you. You answered my prayer. And contentment and I don't go well together, and there's a problem of mine. And godliness with contentment is great gain. And Paul learned to be content. And it's something I'm struggling with. But I used that 1 truckload of chips. I dumped it in that one hole that was giving me so much trouble, and told Thomas, I said, Thomas, I really wanted more chips than that. and so that was last year about this time that I put that truckload of chips down in that hole. And this, I thought, well, I got to go get to Asplund earlier in the year or something. I did something wrong. I should have had more chips. So I'm working, and one day this guy comes up and says, you own some property that our power lines go over, and your trees are under the power lines. What do you want to do? We want to cut them down. Do you mind? I said, no, go ahead, cut them down, but please give me the chips. and I'd like all the firewood too, because we burn firewood. And he said, yeah, we'll give you the chips. And how many do you want? I said, as many as you can give. I'm thinking 2 truckloads this year. And they started bringing chips by, and they brought chips, and they brought chips. And I have a concrete thing that's from here to Doug's truck, and they pile after pile after pile. And I said, well, why don't you put them up there next? And I'm not kidding. There was probably 80 to 100 truckloads of chips when I told them, I can't have any more chips. Give me a couple days to move these around. And I did. I got the tractor out, and I put piles as high as this building almost. And I finished doing that. And one afternoon, I was out checking the cows, and I walked back the long way, and I'm standing on this pile of chips. And I'm thinking, what kind of blasphemy is it that I won't trust God to provide for me? Amen. Why is it I have to look to my own devices, scheming? I got to talk to this guy, talk to that guy. I got to get a job. I got to do this. Why am I scheming? God says He's going to provide, and He does. And now I'm sitting there stressing out because I shouldn't have told Him to cut off the chips. I could have had way more chips. Anyway, so about a week later, they started showing up with more chips. And this is after I told Pastor that we got 80 to 100 truckloads of chips. And I'm pretty sure we've gotten about 180 total truckloads of chips. And I'm not saying anything to them to stop it. But it's a marvel. And people say, what are you going to do with all those chips? I don't know. But they're there. So anyway, that's God's provision.
Amen. Amen. God showing up. He shows up. He shows up. God shows up in your life when you trust Him. Every time, right on time. Oh, not like we would imagine, right, Skip? But like He knows.